Not guilty to the charges. Their girlfriends, Chastity Paisley and Kristen Price, also pled not guilty after being charged as accessories after the fact. On our next trip, we spoke with Chief Investigating Officer of the case, Detective Rob DeFreight of the Albany County Sheriff's Department.
I guess the thing that bothered me most was when I went down to Clear Valley Family where Matthew was, and the thing that bothered me most was seeing him, touching him. As the homicide detective look at bodies, this poor boy sitting here fighting for his life, trying to make it. I wanted to buy the book, so you know.
I keep seeing that picture in my head, and I found it.
Aaron Sprinkles.
And it's not pleasant whatsoever. I don't want it to be there. I want to, get it out. And that's the biggest part for me, is seeing that picture in my head, and it's not pleasant whatsoever. It's just unbelievable to me, that I happen to be the one to find him. Because the big question with me is with my religion is why did God want me to find him?
I know how to take care of myself, and I was irrationally terrified.
Catherine Connolly.
So what that means is not letting my 12-year-old son walk the streets, seeing a truck do a U-turn and thinking it's coming after me, having to stop because I'm shaking so bad, and in fact, the pickup truck did not come after me, but my reaction was to have my heart in my mouth.
Ultimately, no matter how you dice it, I did have an opportunity.
Matt Galloway.
If I had amazing hindsight of 2020 to have stopped what occurred, and I keep thinking, I should have noticed these guys. I should have noticed they shouldn't have been talking to this guy. I shouldn't have had my head down for 20 seconds washing dishes. The things I could have done. What the hell was I thinking?
So you do a lot of studying. You spend hours and hours and hours. You study, study. Making sure they understand, talking to your witness again. And I always get this flash of seeing Matthew. I wanted it so tight there was no way they were going to get out of this.
One of the things that happened when I got to the fence,
Reggie Flutie.
it was just such an overwhelming amount of blood, and we tried to wear protective gloves, but we had a real cheap sheriff at the time, and he brought a shit load, so you put them on, but they keep breaking, so, finally, you ran out of gloves, so you figured, don't hesitate, that's what your mind tells you all the time, don't hesitate. So you just keep moving, and you try to help Matthew and find an airway, and it's just what you do, it's what you do.
The thing I wasn't telling you before is that Reggie is my daughter.
Marge Murray.
And when she told me she wanted to be a police officer, I thought there was no better choice. She could handle whatever came her way.
Probably a day and a half later, the hospital called me and told me that Matthew had HIV. And the doctor said to me, you've been exposed and you've had a bad exposure. See, I've been building a lean-to for my lungs, and my hands had had a bunch of open cuts on them. So I was kind of screwed, and you just think, oh shit,
Would you like to talk about losing sleep?
So I said to the doctor, all right, what do I do? And he said, get up here. So I got up there, and we started the ATV drugs immediately.
Now they told me that's a medication that is administered 36 hours after you've been exposed to it to stop you from getting the disease.
That is a mean, nasty medicine. I've lost 10 pounds and a lot of my hair.
And quite frankly, I wanted to lash out at somebody. Not at Matthew, please understand that one of us was mad at Matthew, but I maybe wanted to squeeze McKinney's head off. And I think about Henderson and, two absolute human beings cause so much grief for so many people. It has been terrible for my whole family, but mostly for her and her kids.
I think it brought home to my girls what their mom does for a living.
Well, Reggie, you know what I'm going to tell you now.
And my
You're quitting this damn job.
And it's just a parent thing, you know, and they're awfully proud of you because you do a good job, whether it's handling a drunk or a case like this, but you know, they don't want you getting hurt.
Like I said, there's a right way, there's a wrong way, and then there's Reggie's way.
So finally I said, oh, for God's sake, shut up, Francis.
You are so stubborn.
They say I'm stubborn and I don't believe them. But I just think, you know, all right, I've heard your opinion. Here's mine. I'm 39 years old. What are you going to do, spank me?
Reggie, don't give me any ideas.
It looked pretty funny, you know. What can I say?
I just hope she doesn't go before me. I don't think I can handle that.
University of Wyoming President Philip Dubois.
Well, this is a young person who read my statement in the Denver Post story and sent me an email to me directly and said,
You and the straight people of Laramie and Wyoming are guilty of the deed of Matthew Spector. Just as the Germans who looked the other way are guilty of the death of the Jews, the gypsies, and the homosexuals. You have taught your straight children to hate their gay, lesbian brothers and sisters, until unless you acknowledge that Matt Shepard was not just the work of a couple crazy, not just the work of a couple men, you have Matthew's blood on your hands.
and, well, I just can't begin to tell you what that does to you. And it's like, you can't possibly know what I'm thinking. You can't possibly know what this has done to me, and my family, and my community.
The first week alone, vigils were held in Laramie, Denver, Fort Collins, and Colorado Springs. Soon after, in Detroit, Chicago, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Nashville, Minneapolis, and Portland, Maine, among others. In Los Angeles, 5,000 people gathered. And in New York City, a political rally ended in civil disobedience and hundreds of arrests. And the Poudre Valley Hospital website received close to 1 million visitors from across the country and around the world, all expressing hope for Matthew's recovery. Matthew Shepard, medical update at 9 a.m., Sunday, October 11th.
As of 9 a.m. today, Matthew Shepard remains in critical condition. The family continues to emphasize that the media respect their privacy. The family also wants to thank the American public for their kind thoughts and concern for Matthew.
There are certain things when I sit in church,
Jedediah Schultz.
and the Reverend will tell you flat out that he doesn't agree with homosexuality. And I don't know. I don't think right now I'm going through changes. I'm still learning about myself, and you know, I don't feel like I know enough about certain things that to make a decision that says homosexuality is right. When you've been raised your whole life that it's wrong, and right now I would say that I don't agree with it. Yeah, that I don't agree with it. And speaking in religious terms, I don't think that's how God intended it to happen. But I don't hate the homosexuals, and I mean, I'm not going to persecute them or anything like that at all. I mean, I'm not going to be the one getting in the way between me and the other person at all.
Well, it's preached in schools that being gay is okay.
Conrad Miller.
And if my kids asked me, I'd set them down and I'd say, this is what gay people do. This is what animals do. And then I'd tell them, this is the life. This is the lifestyle. This is what they do. And then I'd say, this is why I believe it's wrong.
There's more gay people around than what you would think.
Murdoch Cooper.
It doesn't bother anybody because most of them know who are gay or lesbian, but they know damn well who to talk to. If you step in the line, you're asking for it. Some people are saying Matthew Shepard made a pass at them. You don't pick up regular people. I'm not excusing their actions, but it made me feel better because it was particularly Matthew Shepard's fault, And partially the guys who did it. I don't know. Maybe it's 50-50.
Yes, as a lesbian, I was more concerned for my safety.
Maggie, Shannon.
I think we all were, and I think it's because somewhere inside we knew it could happen to us anytime. You know, I mean, I would be afraid to walk down the street and display any sort of affection for my partner. You don't do that here in Laramie.
Well, there's this whole idea. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone.
Jonas Slomaker.
And it's even some of the Western literature, you know? Live and let live. That is such crap. I tell my friends that. Even my gay friends bring it up sometimes. I'm like, that is crap, you know? I mean, basically what it boils down to, if I don't tell you I'm a fag, you won't beat the crap out of me. I mean, what's so great about that? That's such a great philosophy.
We went to the candle vigil,
Lombeyda Ula.
and it was so good to be with people who felt like shit. I kept feeling like I don't deserve to feel this bad, you know? And someone gets up there and says, come on guys, let's show the world that Laramie is not this kind of a town. But it is that kind of a town. If it weren't that kind of a town, then why did this happen here? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lie, because it happened here. So how can it not be a town where this thing happened? Like, that's just totally like looking at an Escher painting and getting confused. That's circular logic. How can you even say that? And we have to mourn this, and we have to be sad that we live in a town, a state, a country where shit like this happens. And I'm not going to step away from this and say we need to pretend this didn't happen. Everyone's trying to distance themselves from this crime, and we need to own this crime. Everyone needs to own it. We are like this. We are like this. We are like this.
I was in the fireside one afternoon and ran into two friends of Aaron McKinney, Shannon and Jen. You two know Aaron well, right?
Yeah, we both did. When I first found out about this, I thought it was really, really awful. I mean, I don't know if it was messed up or whether he was coming down or what. But Matthew had money. Shit, he had breakfast than I did. Matthew was a little rich bitch.
You shouldn't call him a rich bitch, though. That's not right.
I'm not saying he's a bad guy either. All I'm saying is that he's at the wrong place at the wrong time, said the wrong things. And I don't know. I won't lie to you. There were times that I was all messed up on meth that I thought about going there and robbing. I mean, I never did, but yeah, it was there. Easy money.
Aaron's done that thing before. They both have. I remember one night they went to Cheyenne to go do it, and they probably came back with what, $300? Now, I don't know if they ever chose gay people as their particular targets before, but whoever looked like they had money, that they can easily outnumber, overpower was fair game.
But do you think there was any homophobia involved in all this?
Probably. It probably pissed him off that Matthew was gay, because he didn't like the gay people I'd seen him interact with before. As long as they didn't hit on him. As long as that didn't come up.
Yeah, as long as they wouldn't do it in front of him.
Do you get the impression that Aaron knew other gay people?
I mean, I'm sure he knew other people that were gay. I mean, he worked up in KFC. A couple of people up there were, yeah. And I'm not saying it's wrong or anything, because, I don't know, some people I know maybe are gay.
What would you say if you saw Aaron right now?
First of all, I would ask him to do any more speak.
He wouldn't, I bet. If I saw him now, I'd probably be like, man, why did you screw up like that? I want to make sure he's doing good in there. Bet he is, though. I'd probably just want to, like, hang out with him.
Smoke a bowl with him.
Bet he wants one so bad.
So both of you went to Laramie High?
Yeah, can't you tell? We're a product of our society.
Today, nothing more profound than collegiate exuberance and the fortunes of the University of Wyoming football team. This community on the High Plains had a different kind of homecoming Saturday, as many searched their souls in the wake of a vicious, apparent anti-gay hate crime.
University President Philip Dubois.
This was homecoming weekend. There were a lot of people in town, and there was a homecoming parade that's scheduled. And the students organized to tag on to the back of it, you know, behind the banner supporting Matthew. And everybody's wearing the armband that the students had created.
I live in the center of town,
Harry Woods.
and my apartment has windows. on two opposite streets. One goes north and one goes south. And that is exactly the homecoming parade route. Now, on the day of the parade, I had a cast on my leg because of the fall. So I was very disappointed because I really wanted to walk with the people that were marching for Matthew, but I couldn't. So I watched from my window, and it was just, I'm 52 years old, and I'm gay. I have lived here for many years, and I've seen a lot. And I was very moved when I saw the tag on the end of the homecoming parade. About 100 people walking behind a banner for Matthew Shepard. So then the parade went down the block to make a U-turn, and I went to the other side of my apartment to wait for it to come south down the other street.
I was right in front where they were holding the banner for Matthew, and let me tell you, I've never had goosebumps so long before in my life. It was incredible. A mass of people, families, mothers, holding their 6-year-old kids, tying these, armbands around their 6-year-old kids and trying to explain to them why they should wear that armband. It was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely one of the most greatest things I've ever done in my entire life.
Well, about 10 minutes went by, and sure enough, the parade started coming down the other street. And I noticed the most incredible thing. As the parade came down the street, the number of people walking for Matthew Shepard had grown 5 times. There were at least 500 people walking for Matthew. 500 people, can you imagine? The tag at the end was larger than the parade itself, and people kept joining in. And you know what? I started to cry. Tears were streaming down my face, and I thought, thank God, I got to see this in my lifetime. And my second thought was, thank you, Nadia.
I really haven't been all that involved today. My husband's a highway patrolman, so that's really the only way I've known about it. Now, when I first found out, I just thought it was horrible. I can't. Nobody deserves that, and I don't care who you are. But the other thing that was not brought out, at the same time this happened, that a patrolman was killed. And there was nothing. Nothing. They didn't say anything about the old man that killed him. He was driving, and he should not have been driving, and killed him. It was just a little piece in the paper, and we lost one of our guys. You know, my husband worked with him. This man was brand new on the force. But I mean, here's one of ours, and it was just a little piece in the paper. And a lot of it is my feeling that the media is portraying Matthew Shepard as a saint and making him as a martyr. And I don't think he was. I don't think he was that pure. Now, I didn't know him, but there was so much that I found out about him that it's scary. You know, about his character and spreading AIDS and a few other things, being the kind of person that he was. And he was just a barfly, and I think he pushed himself around. I think he flaunted it. Everybody's got problems, but why they exemplified him, I don't know. What's the difference if you're gay? A hate crime is a hate crime. If you murder somebody, you hate them. It has nothing to do with if you're gay or a prostitute or whatever. I don't understand. I don't understand. Company member Lee Bondakowski.
This is one of the last days on our second trip to Laramie. Red and I have been conducting interviews non-stop. We are exhausted. We're going to meet Father Roger at 7:30 in the morning. I was wishing we could skip it all together, but we have to follow through to the end. So here we go. 7:30 a.m., 2 queers and a Catholic his proofs.
Matthew Shepard has served us well. You realize that he has served us well. And I do not mean to condemn Matthew to perfection, but I cannot mention anyone who has done more for this community than Matthew Shepard. And I'm not going to sit here and say I was just this bold guy, no fear. I was scared. I was very vocal in this community when this happened, and I thought, should we call the bishop and ask him for his permission to do the vigil? And I was like, hell no. I'm not going to do that. His permission doesn't make it correct. You realize that? And I'm not knocking bishops, but what is correct is correct. You people are just out here on the search, though. I will do this. I will trust that if you people write a play of this, that you say it right, say it correct. I think you have a responsibility to do that. Don't make matters worse. You think violence is what they did to Matthew. And they did do violence to Matthew. But, every time that you are called a fag, or you are called a les or whatever.
Or a dyke.
Dyke, yeah. Dyke. Do you realize that is violence? That is the seed of violence? And I would resent it immensely if you used anything I said, to somehow cultivate that kind of violence, even in its smallest form. I would resent it immensely. You need to know that.
Thank you, Father, for saying that.
Just deal with what is true. You know what is true. You need to do your best to say it correct.
Andrew Gomez.
Yeah, I was in there. I was in jail on Aaron in December. Got November, Christmas, solidarity, 2 counts. I don't want to talk about it. But there we were, eating our Christmas dinner, eating my stuff and my bread and a little roll, whatever it was. But I want to ask him, hey, tell me something. Why did you, now, I don't know how I worded this, but I was like, why did you kill a faggot if you're destined to be a faggot later? You see what I'm saying? Now think about it. Either he's going to get humped a lot, or he's going to die. So why did you do that? Think about that. I don't understand that. And he goes, you know what he told me? Honest to God, this is what he said. He goes, he tried to grab my crotch. And that's what he said. He's dumb. I don't know what he was thinking. He said that it was nothing. Now, I heard they were auctioning those boys off up in the Max Ward. Killers. They said, oh, Aaron's in prison. I'll put aside 5, 6, 7 cartons of cigarettes. Auction his ass off. I'd be scared to go to prison if I were those 2 boys.
Hello?
Reverend,
Yes, hello.
I believe your wife told me a bit about why I'm contacting you.
Yes, she did, and let me tell you, I don't know that I really want to talk to anyone about any of this incident. I am somewhat involved, and I just don't think that.
Yes, I completely understand, and I don't blame you. I went to your service on Sunday.
You went to the services on Sunday.
Yes, I did.
On Sunday?
Yes, this past Sunday.
Did I meet you?
Yes, you welcomed me at the beginning, I believe.
I see. Well, let me tell you. I am not afraid to be controversial or to speak my mind. And that is not necessarily the views of my congregation, per se. Now, as I said, I am somewhat involved. But half the people in the case, well, the girlfriend of the accused is a member of our congregation, and one of the accused has visited. Now, those 2 people, the accused, they have forfeited their lives. We've been after the 2 I mentioned for years, trying to get them to do right, to live right.
Now one boy is on suicide watch, and I am working with him for his salvation. Until they put him on the chair and turn on the juice, I will work for his salvation. Now I think they deserve the death penalty. I will try to deal with them spiritually.
Right, I understand.
Now as for the victim, I know that that lifestyle is legal. But I will tell you one thing. I hope that Matthew Shepard, as he was tied to that fence, he had a time to reflect on a moment someone had spoken the word of the Lord. And before he slipped into a coma, he had a chance to reflect on his lifestyle.
Thank you, Reverend. I appreciate your speaking with me.
About 11:30 that night, I had just barely gone to bed. And Margot, our chief operating officer, called me and said his blood pressure is beginning to drop. Well, let's wait and see. She called me about 10 after. He had just died. And I quickly got dressed and I came in and I went to the ICU where the family was. And Judy, his mother, came up and she put her arms around me. I put my arms around her. And stood there for honestly about 10 minutes because what else can you do? And then we sit and you talk about things that you just, Dennis, it's now public knowledge. I have to go out there and tell the whole world what has happened. Because at this time it was clear. It was the whole world. So, Judy told me what she wanted me to say. And I went out there at 4 a.m.
Matthew Shepard, medical update at 4:30 a.m., Monday, October 12th.
At 12 midnight, October 12th, Matthew Shepard's blood pressure began to drop. He immediately notified his family, who were already at the hospital. At 12:53 a.m., Matthew Shepard died. His family was at his bedside. The family did release the following statement. The family again has asked me to express their sincerest gratitude to the entire world for the overwhelming response for their son. The family was grateful that they did not have to make a decision regarding whether or not to continue life support. Like a good son, he was carried to the end and removed guilt and stress from the family. He came into the world premature and left the world premature. Matthew's mother said, "Go home, give your kids a hug, and do not let a day go by without telling them that you love them." Thank you. And I don't know how I let that happen. I lost it on national television. But you see, we had been up for 72 hours straight, and I had gone home and gone to sleep for like half an hour. Then I had to get up and come back in. And maybe it was just the way I don't know, but in a moment of complete brain deadness, I was just out there, and reading that statement, and I got my own 4 daughters, and go home and hug your kids, and she doesn't have her kid anymore. And there I am, and I'm thinking, this is so lame. And we started getting people sending us emails, and most of them are generally very, very kind. But I did get this one. And this guy wrote me and he said, "Do you cry on TV for all of your patients? Just for the faggots?" And as I told you before, homosexuality is not a lifestyle which I agree. But having been thrown into all of this, I guess I didn't understand the magnitude with which some people hate. And of all the letters that we got, maybe 2 or 3 were like that, but most of them were, "Thank you for your caring and compassion." And Matthew had caring and compassion from the moment that he got here.
I spoke with Doc today and told him we were coming back for the upcoming trial of Aaron Kinney and Russell Henderson. This is what he had to say.
I'll tell you what, if they put those 2 boys to death, it would defeat everything Matt would be thinking about on that. Because Matt would not want those 2 to die. He'd want to leave them with hope. H-O-P-E. Just like how the whole world hoped that Matt would survive. The whole thing, you see, the whole thing ropes around hope. H-O-P-E.
The day of the funeral, it was snowing so bad. Big, huge, wet snowflakes. And there were thousands of people in just black, with umbrellas everywhere. And there were 2 churches. One for the immediate family and invited guests, people of that nature. And the other one for everyone else who simply wanted to be there. And still, people were waiting outside. And there was a park between 2 churches. And this park was full.
The liturgy today is an Easter liturgy. It finds its meaning in the resurrection. This service invites your full participation. The word of the Lord. Let us pray.
And I guess it was like the worst one that they've had. Like that anybody could ever tell. Like trees fell down and the power went out for a couple of days because of it. And I just thought, like all the forces of the universe at work, you know? Any higher spirit that blows storms, that was blowing this storm.
For our brother Matthew, let us pray to our Lord Jesus Christ, who said, "I am the resurrection and the life." We praise the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
Lord, you who consoled Mary and Martha in their distress, draw near to us who mourn for Matthew, and dry the tears of those who weep. We praise the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
You wept at the graves of Lazarus, your friend. Comfort us in our sorrows. We praise the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
You raised the dead to life. Give to our brother eternal life. We praise the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
You promised paradise to the feet who repented. Bring to our brothers the joys of heaven. We praise the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
He was nourished with your body and blood, granting a place at the table in your heavenly kingdom. We praise the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
Comfort us in our sorrow at the death of our brother. Let our faith be our consolation and eternal life our hope. We praise the Lord.
My most striking memory from the funeral
Carrie Drake, Casper Star Tribune.
is seeing Reverend Ferriole people from Kansas.
Let's see the
apart.
Do you believe in the Bible? Do you believe you should separate the precious from the vile? Do you believe that the Bible says about God? It also talks about God hates.
A bunch of high school kids who got out early came over and started yelling at some people in the protest, the Red people. And there are people who were just trying to line up and get to the funeral. Well, I remember this guy, this skinhead-looking guy dressed in leather and spikes everywhere. He came over from the protest, and I just thought, oh my God, it's going to be a really ugly confrontation. But instead, he came over and started leading them in Amazing Grace.
We wouldn't be here today. It's just another murder the state was going to give us. The state gave hundreds of murders every single day. But this one is different. So you're taking Matthew Shepard and making him to the poster child for the gay lifestyle. We're going to answer to it. It's just that simple. That attribute job.
6 months later, the company returned to Laramie for the trial of Russell Henderson, the first of the 2 perpetrators. It was to be a capital murder trial. When we got to the Albany County Courthouse, Fred Wells was already there, but so was Romaine Patterson.
After seeing Fred Phelps protesting at Matthew's funeral, and finding out that he was coming to Laramie for the trial of Russell Henderson, I decided that someone should stand toe-to-toe with this guy and show the differences. And I think at times like this, when we're talking about hatred as much as the nation is right now, that we need to show them that there's a better way of dealing with that kind of hatred. So our idea is to dress up like angels. So we've already designed an angel outfit, for our wings are huge. They're like big-ass wings. And there'll be 10 to 20 of us that are going to be angels. And what we're going to do, we're going to encircle Phelps. And because of our big wings, we're going to completely block him. So this big-ass band of angels comes in, and we don't say a word. We just turn our backs to him and stand there. For we are a group of people bringing forth a message of peace, love, and compassion. And we're calling it Angel Action. Yeah, this 21-year-old little lesbian is ready to walk the line with him.
When these old preachers put their hands on me, it's called an ordination. Mantra Isaiah 5:81. Cry loud, spare not. Lift thy voice like a trumpet and show the people their transgressions.
And I knew that my angels were going to be taking the front of everything he had to yell and say. I mean, we were going to be blocking his view, and he was going to be pissed off to all hell. So I went out and bought my angels earplugs.
Romaine Patterson's sister, Patricia Skye.
As soon as he started jury selection, everyone was coming to my shop with, I don't want to be on this trial, I hope they don't call her, oh my God, they've called, how do I get off? Very fearful that they were going to have to be a part of that jury. And then I heard Henderson had us in the courtroom while they questioned prospective jurors. And one of the questions they asked is, would you be willing to put this person to death? And I understand that a lot of the comments were, yes, I would.
Yes, I would, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
No problem.
Yep. Could you imagine that? Juror after juror after juror.
You entered not guilty plea earlier, Mr. Henderson, but I understand you continue to plead today. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You do understand that those are concurrent or may run consecutively.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Henderson, I will now ask you how you wish to plead. Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Before the court decides whether the sentences will be concurrent or consecutive, I understand that there are statements to be made by at least one individual. This is an excerpt from a statement made by the court by Lucy Thompson.
As a grandmother and the person who raised Russell, along with my family, we have written the following statement. Our hearts ache for the pain and suffering that the shepherds have went through. We have prayed for your family since the very easy. Many times throughout the day, I have thought about that. And you will continue to be in our hearts and prayers, as we know that your pain will never go away. You have showed us such mercy in allowing us to have this plea. We're so grateful. Your Honor, we, as a family, hope that when you sentence Russell, that you will do it concurrently to life. For the Russell we know and love, please, Your Honor, don't take him out of our lives forever.
Thank you. Mr. Henderson, you have a constitutional right to make a statement if you would like to do so. Do you have anything that you would like to say?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. Mr. and Miss Shepherd, there's not a moment that goes by I don't see what happened that night. I know what I did was wrong, and I regret greatly what I did. I have my greatest sympathy for what happened. I hope that one day you will be able to find it in your hearts to forgive me. Your Honor, I know what I did was wrong. I regret greatly what I did, and I am ready to pay my debt for what I did.
Mr. Henderson, you drove the vehicle that took Matthew Shepherd to his death. You bounced into that fence in order that he might be more savagely beaten. You left him out there for 18 hours, knowing full well that he was there, and perhaps having an opportunity to save him. And you did nothing. Mr. Henderson, this court does not believe that you feel any true remorse for your part in this matter. And I wonder, Mr. Henderson, whether you fully realize the gravity of what you have done. Therefore, the court finds it appropriate to have the sentencing go as follows. As to count 3, being felony murder with robbery, you will serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. As to count 1, kidnapping, that you serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. Sentencing for count 1 to run consecutive to sentencing for count 3. After the hearing, we spoke with Russell Henderson's Mormon home teacher.
I've known Russell's family for 38 years. Russell's only 21, so I've known his entire life. I ordained Russell a priest of the Lord. When this happened, you can imagine disbelief. After the sentencing, they were told disciplinary council, and the result of that was to excommunicate Russell. And what that means is your name is taken off the record. He can just disappear. Russell's reaction was not positive. It hurt him. It hurt him to realize how serious of a transgression he had committed. But I will not desert Russell. And that is a matter of my religion and my friendship to the family.
Before we left Laramie, we met again with Rebecca Hilliger at the theater department. She's producing Angels in America this year at the university.
I think that's the focus that the university is taking, is that we have a lot of work to do. We have to find an obligation to find ways to reach to our students. And the question is, how do we move? How do we reach a whole state where there's some really deep-seated hostility towards gays? How do you reach them? This is the beginning. And guess who's on the lead?
My parents.
Nadia Schultz.
My parents were like, so what plays are you doing this year at school? And I was like, Angels in America. And I listed the whole list of plays. And they're like, Angels in America? Is that play you did in high school? That scene you did in high school? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, so are you going to audition for it? And I was like, yeah. And we got in this huge argument. And the best thing that I knew I had in them is that it was just after they had seen me in a performance of Macbeth. And on stage, I murder a little kid and Lady Macduff and these 2 other guys. And she goes, well, you know homosexuality is a sin. She kept saying that. And I go, Mom, I just played a murderer tonight. And you didn't seem to have a problem with that. I tell you, I have never prepared myself this much for an audition in my life. Never, ever. Not even close.
Not having to deal with that much with the gay society here in Laramie.
Detective Sergeant Rob DeGrave.
Once we started working on the case and actually speaking to the people that were gay and finding out what was going on in Pittsburgh, well, it sort of hit me. This is America. You do not have that right to feel that fear. And we're still going to have people who hold the old ideals. And I was probably one of them 14 months ago. I'm not going to put up with it. I'm not going to listen to it. And if they don't like my views on it, fine. The door goes both ways. I already lost a couple of buddies. I don't care. I feel more comfortable when I can sleep at night.
Well, you're tested every 3 months.
Reggie Flutie.
And I was able to have the DNA test done. And so they got me to Fort Collins, drew the blood there, flew to Michigan and did all the DNA work there, and which was a week later, I knew I was negative for good.
I'll tell you, we're all on our knees saying, Hail Mary.
You're just a waiting, you know, and you think, thank God.
So what's the first thing she does?
I stuck my tongue right in my husband's mouth. I was just happy, you know, you're so happy to think, yeah, I hope I did this service well, you know, I hope I did it with some kind of integrity. So you're just really happy, and my daughters, they just bawled.
They were so happy.
And the fourth,
Oh boy.
we went out and got shit-faced. They all bought me drinks too. It was great, and everybody hugged and cried, and you know, I kissed everybody who walked through the door.
Reggie, they don't need to know that.
Male, female, didn't matter. They each got a kiss on the lips.
Now, one word of what I just said, didn't you understand?
Get over it, Mom.
Almost a year to the day that Matthew Shepard died, the trial for Aaron James McKinney was set to begin.
Probably the question most of you have in your mind is how the McKinney case will proceed.
Calvary Rucha, prosecuting attorney.
And it's the decision of the county attorney's office that will definitely be a death penalty case.
Oh, I believe in the death penalty 100%. Because, you know, I want to make sure that guy's ass dies. This is one instance where I truly believe with all my heart, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
I don't know about the death penalty, but I don't want to see those two walk out of Rawlins Penitentiary ever again. I'll pay my nickel or whatever, my little percentage of tax, to make sure that his ass stays in there and never sees society again. And sure as hell never goes into my bar again.
I don't believe in the death penalty. It's way too much for me. I don't believe that one person should be killed as redemption for having killed another. Two wrongs don't make a right.
How can I protest if the Shepherds want McKinney dead? I just can't interfere in that. Well, on a personal level, I knew Aaron in grade school. We didn't call him Aaron, we called him AJ. How can we put AJ McKinney to death?
I think right now our most important teachers must be Russell Henderson and Aaron McKinney. They have to be our teachers. How did you learn? What did we as a society teach you to do that? See, I don't know if many people will let them be their teachers. I think it would be wonderful if the judge said, in addition to your sentence, you must tell your story. You must tell your story.
All rise. State of Wyoming versus Aaron James McKinney, docket number 6381. The Honorable Judge Boyd presiding. The court is in session.
During the trial of Aaron McKinney, the prosecution played a tape recording of his confession.
My name is Rob DeGrave, Sergeant of the Sheriff's Office. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and may be used against you in the court of law.
The following is an excerpt of that confession.
Okay, so you guys, you and Russ, go to the fireside. You're by the fireside by yourselves, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did you go after you left the fireside?
You want to ride home?
What's he look like?
Like a queer. Such a queer dude.
He looks like a queer?
Yeah, like a fag, you know?
Okay. How did you meet him?
He wanted to ride home, and I just thought, well, the dude's drunk, let's take him home.
When did you and Russ talk about jacking him up?
We kind of talked about it at the bar.
Okay. What happened next?
We drove about past Walmart, got over there, and he starts grabbing my leg and grabbing my crotch. I was like, look, I'm not a faggot. If you touch me again, you're gonna get it. I don't know what the hell he was trying to do, but I beat him up pretty bad. I think I killed him.
What did you beat him with?
Blacked out. My fists, my pistol, the butt of the gun, wondering what happened to me. I had a few beers and I don't know. It was like I could see what was going on, but I don't know. It was like somebody else was doing it.
What was the first thing he said or did in the truck that made you hit him?
Well, he put his hand on my leg and slid his hand like he was going to grab my crotch.
When the defense team argued that McKinney did what he did because Matthew had passed him, I just wanted to vomit. Because that's like saying it's okay. That's like the Twinkie defense. When the guy killed with Harvey Milk and Moscone, it's the same thing.
As much as a part of me didn't want the defense of them saying that it was like gay bashing or gay panic, part of me is really grateful because I was really scared that they were going to try and say it was a robbery or it was about drugs. So when they used gay panic as their defense, I felt, this is good. If nothing else, the truth is going to be told. The truth is coming out.
Did he ever try to defend himself or hit you back?
Yeah, sort of. He tried to strangers or whatever, but clearly he wasn't very effective.
Okay. How many times did you hit him inside the truck before you took him out and left him?
I'd say hit him 2 or 3 times, probably 3 times with my fist and 3 or 4 times with the butt of the gun.
Did he ask you to stop?
Well, yeah, he was getting the shit kicked out of him.
What did he say?
After he asked me to stop, all he was doing was screaming.
So, Russ kind of dragged him over to the fence and, I'm assuming, tied him up.
Something like that. I just remember Russ was laughing at first, but then he got pretty scared.
Was Matthew conscious when Russ tied him up?
Yeah, I told him to turn around and don't look at my license plate number. Because, I'm scared to tell the police. Then I asked him to read the license plate number, and he did. So, I hit him a few more times.
Just to be sure, you obviously don't like gay people.
No, I don't.
Would you say you hate them?
I really don't hate them, but when they start coming on to me and stuff like that, it's pretty aggravating.
Did he threaten you?
This gay dude?
Yes.
Not really.
Can you answer me one thing? Why did you take his shoes?
I don't know. Now I'm never going to see my son again.
I don't know. You'll probably go to court sometime today.
Today? So I'm going to go in there and just plead guilty or not guilty today?
No, you're going to be arraigned today.
He's going to die for sure?
There's no doubt that Matthew Shepard is going to die.
So, what are they going to give me? 25 to life or just the death penalty and get it over with?
That's not my job. That's the judge's job and the jury's.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. We, the jury, and panel and sworn to try the above entitled case. After having well and truly tried the matter unanimously, finds as follows. As to the charge of kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of aggravated robbery, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of first-degree felony murder kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty.
Aaron McKinney was found guilty of felony murder, which meant the jury agreed on the death penalty. That evening, Judy and Dennis Shepard were approached by McKinney's defense team, who fled for their kind life. The following morning, Dennis Shepard made a statement to the court. Here are some of what was said.
My son Matthew did not look like a winner. He was rather uncoordinated and wore braces from the age of 13 until the day he died. However, in his all too brief life, he proved that he was a winner. On October 6th, 1998, my son tried to show the world that he could win again. On October 12th, 1998, my firstborn son and hero, lost. On October 12, 1998, my firstborn son and my hero died. 50 days before his 22nd birthday. I kept wondering the same thing that I did when I first saw him in the hospital. What would he have become? How could we have changed his piece of the world to make it better? Matt officially died in a hospital in Fort Collins, Colorado. He actually died on the outskirts of Laramie, tied to a fence. You, Mr. McKinney, with your friend, Mr. Henderson, left him out there by himself. And he wasn't alone. There were his lifelong friends. Friends he had grown up with. You're probably wondering who these friends were. First, he had the beautiful night sky. And the same stars and moon that we used to see through a telescope. Then he had the daylight and the sun to shine on him. And through it all, he was breathing in the scent of pine trees from the snowy range. He heard the wind, the ever-present Wyoming wind for the last time. He had one more friend with him. He had God, and I feel better knowing he wasn't alone. Matt's beating, hospitalization, and funeral-focused worldwide attention on hate. Good is coming out of evil. People have said enough is enough. I miss my son, but I am proud to be able to say that he is my son. Judy has been quoted as being against the death penalty. It has been stated that Matt was against the death penalty. Both of these statements are wrong. Matt believed that there were crimes and incidents that justified the death penalty. I, too, believe in the death penalty. I would like nothing more than to see you die, Mr. McKinney. However, this is the time to begin the healing process. To show mercy to someone who refused to show any mercy. Mr. McKinney, I am going to grant you life in the memory of Matthew, as hard as it is for me to do so. Every time you celebrate Christmas, a birthday, the 4th of July, remember that Matt isn't. Every time you wake up in your prison cell, remember that you had the opportunity and ability to stop your actions that night. You robbed me of something very precious, Mr. McKinney, and I will never forgive you for that. Mr. McKinney, I give you life in the memory of one who no longer lives. May you have a long life, and may you thank Matthew every day for it.
Everybody had tears in their eyes. Everybody. And you're just so thankful, you know. And Mr. Shepherd was crying, and then that got me bawling, and everybody
This
just...
is where what we have been breathed for years. Taylor. This has been my case, Taylor. Now it's over.
Maybe now we can go on and just quit being stuck, you know?
It just hit me today. The minute that I got out of the courthouse, the reason that God wanted me to find him was that he didn't have to die out there alone. And if I wouldn't have come along, they wouldn't have found him for a couple of weeks at least. So it makes me feel really good that he didn't have to die out there alone.
I'm just glad it's over. I really am. Testifying in that trial was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And don't get me wrong, I love the stage. I really do. I love it. But it's tricky because basically you have these lawyers questioning you from this angle, but the answers need to be funneling this way to the jury. So you have to establish a funneling system. And that's hard for me because I'm a natural conversationalist. So it's natural instinct that when someone talks to me, I look at them and make eye contact. But it's tough when you literally have to scoot over, change position, in effect, funnel over where the jury is. But I was able to do that several times over the course of my testimony.
It's time to move on, and I think that even the citizens are having a town painted red, so to speak. They're just going to be glad to maybe get moved on.
On our last trip, I had the good fortune of seeing Jedediah Schultz play the role of Pryor in Angels in America. After a performance, we spoke. I didn't, for the longest time, let myself become personally involved with the Matthew Shepard thing. It didn't seem real. It just seemed way blown out of proportion. Matthew Shepard was just a name instead of an individual. I don't know, it's weird. It's so weird, man. I just feel bad for all that stuff that I told you, for the person I used to be. That's why I want to hear those interviews from last year when I said all that stuff. I don't know, I can't believe I ever said that stuff about homosexuals, you know? How did I ever let that stuff make me think that you were any different from me?
This is Romaine Patterson.
Well, a year ago, I wanted to be a rock star. That was my goal. And now, it's obviously changed in the fact that throughout the last year, I've really realized my role in taking my part. So instead of going to school to be in music, I'm going to go to school for communications and political science because I have a career in political activism. Actually, I recently found out that I was going to be honored in Washington, D.C. from the Anti-Defamation League. And whenever I think of the Angels or any of the speaking that I've done, Matthew's like guiding this path with his light for me to walk down. And whenever we get to like a door, he opens it and he just says, okay, next step. And if I get to be a rock star on the side, okay.
This is Jonas Slonaker.
Change is not an easy thing, and I don't think people here were up to it. They got what they wanted. Those 2 boys got what they deserved. We look good now. Justice has been served, the OK corral. We shot down the villains, sent the prostitutes on the train. The town's cleaned up, and we don't need to talk about it anymore. You know, it's been a year since Matthew Shepard died, and they haven't passed shit in Wyoming. At state level, any town, nobody anywhere has passed any kind of laws. Anti-discrimination laws, hate crime legislation. No one has passed anything anywhere. What's come out of it? What's come out of it that's concrete or long-lasting?
We all said we would meet again. One last time at the fence.
I've been up to that site in my limousine, okay? I remember to myself that night he and I drove around together. He said to me, Laramie Laramie sparkles, doesn't it? Where he was up there, if you sit exactly where he was up there, Laramie sparkles. With the low-lying clouds, it's the blue lights from the airport that goes tss, 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 right over the whole city. I mean, it just blows you away. And that was right there, in that spot. I could just picture it in his eyes. I could just picture what he was seeing. But the last thing he saw on this earth was the sparkling lights.
We've spent the last 2 days packing over a year's worth of materials and saying our goodbyes. We've been here 6 times and have conducted over 200 interviews. Jedediah cried when he said goodbye.
Marge wished us luck, and when we asked her how Laramie would feel about being okay by himself, she said,
I think we'd enjoy it. And the show is not the how old they're through the United States, that's up to how you portray us. And the return is up to how Laramie behaves.
As we were getting off the phone, she said to me,
Now, take care. I love you, honey.
Doc asked me if you wanted to ghostwrite a book about all this, and even Galileo offered me a place to stay if I ever came back to Laramie. He also seemed interested if there were any open auditions for this play.
We left Laramie at about 7 in the evening. On the way to Denver, I looked in my rearview mirror to take one last look at the town.
And I will speak with you. I will trust that if you write a play of this, that you say it right. You need to do your best to say it correct.